how through Canton Town on a cold and stormy night, with the snow blowers roar and taillight arrows, a case not black nor white. The truth must show through snowbanks deep and dramas glow. With solo cups out high we plead what really happened to poor John O'Keefe. Carolyn, she took the stand with the world glued to the stream. The whispers flew like nor'easter winds. Was it love or a deadly scheme? Let justice flow like bourbon round the backyard snow. With neighbors watching cold and tight, did you pack up wrong with the frame that night? They say the party raged indoors while John lay still in snow so wide. But some cry out, this doesn't fit.
Hey guys, it's Mo trying to give you a breakdown of day 18 while it is still fresh in my memory. But we do know, according to this case, that in 3 weeks my memory of today will be awesome sauce and better than it is now. So we kind of started out with Nathaniel Bradford. He was a DNA expert from Virginia, Bodie Technology. And he kind of looked at, the passenger side tail light and said that John could not be excluded from the mix of several people, including, possibly a female. Basically, it's more likely that he could be included than excluded is how how they sort of translated that. He sort of went into the hair that Bodie Technologies also got, but that was going to be covered by another witness. All in all, he wasn't, it wasn't really anything, although he was given direct and redirect by Lolly, so it was like 2 hours of what is DNA and who is DNA and what if any DNA. So that was absolutely redonkulous. Now, both of the DNA witnesses were crossed by Jackson. I will say that I enjoy Jackson's style and flair, but I do think for these scientific witnesses, Leslie would probably be better because I do think he spent a lot of time talking about Proctor and everyone else when he could have just talked about the fact that they weren't able to figure out anyone else in the mix or, conclusively say that John was there or not there, even though, sort of the phraseology of that has changed over the years. And experts in this are more likely to use it can be included or excluded in their verbiage rather than, is a match, not a match, that kind of thing. So we kind of got all of that from that particular witness. Then we transitioned over to Carl Miyasako. He looked about 12, but he is actually a senior analyst that was, kind of enlisted to look at the mitochondrial DNA. Now, he did explain that the mitochondrial DNA would match both John O'Keefe. So he did explain how mitochondrial DNA is passed down the matrilineal line so that not only John O'Keefe would have the same, mitochondrial DNA, but so would Paul O'Keefe and his niece and nephew because they were all, from Peggy O'Keefe, basically, and only the maternal line is passed down. So while I think that Jackson and the tech got that across, I am not sure that, again, Jackson was the one that should have crossed him. Again, love Jackson, like his snark, love his comments. But for, very scientific clients or experts, I think you need someone who has a more than passing sort of comfort with science and all those things, kind of the mindset that understands science. Now, that was pretty much, all of that particular evidence. Then we went to Shannon Burgess from Aperture. Now, we didn't really get into it on direct, but there's going to be a lot of questions about his CV and how, let's say, enhanced or glamorized or churched up it was. He was, who the state hired to do the report to get all of the information from the car and do all of the computer Harry Potter magic that will make it into a timeline. And basically, he spent a lot of time sort of explaining where the modules were, how the original search of these modules and these telematics hadn't gotten all of the data, that there were a whole bunch of mix-ups, and how the state had actually maybe possibly destroyed evidence by when you take off the chips. Apparently, you have to heat them to a high enough degree to remove the solder, but not a high enough degree that it interferes with any of the data. Now, again, most of this was like Asian hieroglyphic Chinese. It was just, I meant ancient, not Asian, but Chinese hieroglyphics. Basically, it looked like craziness to me. Now, apparently, all of the data is stored in something called a hexadecimal readout, which is weird coding language, all that stuff. Basically, all of his testimony was being used to bolster this between 21 and 29-second sort of clock drift, time drift in the possible time that Karen both hit John and then got home. So, according to Shannon Burgess, there was a 21 to 29 second drift, and he says that it's common practice that most computery things, people do go and understand that there is a generalized understanding of clock shift. Again, all of this sounded like, please, dear God, just let us get across to me. Now, Brennan tried his best to make it sound all, spectacular and scientifical. However, we get into the cross, and I think this is where Alessi really shines with his sort of very analytical, very step-by-step, very compartmentalized and organized sort of mind. Again, he does have a mind for sort of the harder sciences, the very fact-oriented, data-driven sciences, which would be, shown out by the fact that he has, I think, a pharmacology degree of some sort. Again, I haven't deep dived into all of these people's lives. Now, we do get a little bit of, Alessi waxing on about the scientific method and things like that. And it's really kind of, for a minute, I was wondering, where are we going with this? And then we started bringing in a lot of, what are your credentials? What are you doing? Now, a CV was sent to both the state and the Commonwealth. And it basically, Leslie went on a big screed about, okay, well, clients look at your CV, the things that are purported, and put on the Aperture website. So people are sort of, buying into your expertise in order for you to get clients and get people to come to this business. You are purporting to be an expert or expertologist. However, in April 2025, his CV did not yet, basically, we found out he had not yet earned a bachelor's degree. Basically, Aperture's bio page at the bottom shows that he has a bachelor's of science in mathematics and business administration, which is not true because he's currently 17 years into trying to get his bachelor's degree. Now, I would like to state here openly, as a twice college dropout, yes, twice, I excel in all I do, just like Sarah Boone. That being said, I don't rely on people having, a right educational background or sort of certification. I don't go to authority-based sort of reasoning most of the time. But when you are holding yourself out there and purporting to be an expert and demanding expert, fee and compensation, it really is upsetting that you would not put out the true thing. Now, I do think Alessi did a good job because I believe right prior to this, he had asked Mr. Burgess, do you know how much you were paid for this? Do you know how much Aperture was paid for this? Again, Brennan has made a big deal about Aperture, I'm sorry, ACRA or ARCA, the two doctors not really knowing, again, how much these things were how much they were paid and things like that, because that goes to the billing and accounting department. So I think he took the sort of teeth out of that particular argument. Should the Commonwealth bring up, oh, well, how much were you paid? And why don't you know? Well, because they're scientists, they put in invoices, they put in calculations of their time, but they don't do the billing. Now, that being said, uh, basically, Alessi has done Oppo research or someone on the defense, because there were, I think, out of 6, 4 CVs and LinkedIn's that purported that, Mr. Burgess had, finished his bachelor's degree and, let's see, a bachelor's degree in, oh, he made up some sort of doodad. A bachelor's degree in the science and applied mathematics and computation. Now, apparently, there is a degree in that, or degree field in that, in the particular college that he used. Now, again, really very shaky ground to begin with. And then Alessi continues to show LinkedIn profiles, people that basically everywhere he has purported to be just, a geniusologist. Now, there was some talk about the fact that in his early report, I think in January, he had misconstrued uh, bytes and bits. Now, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'm not a computerologist, but basically, my opinion is if you're holding yourself out to be an expertologist in this particular field and you confuse something, it would be like for me in cross stitch confusing a straight stitch with a full block stitch, or a half stitch with a full block stitch. It really is something that you wouldn't do, or picking the wrong thread, or picking, 2 threads instead of 3 threads for a 10 count square. Again, that probably sounds like gobbledygook if you don't understand it, but for someone that cross stitches a lot and does different sizes, there are, certain things that are sort of rote. So again, if you understand computer Harry Potter magic, this is something that should never be a mistake that you make. Again, I guess it would be akin to seconds to minutes. Now, basically, his first report was also throwing Miss Gaffigan from the state under the bus, and it turned out on cross that Miss Gaffigan had not missed information, at least on the modules and chips that she had looked at, because Mr. Burgess had confused the hell out of his bits and bytes. Now, a lot was made, and again, Alessi hasn't finished cross yet, was made about the fact that there was a bit of a time drift with Mr. Burgess's time. We added the 21 to 29 second range of differentiation between the telematics system, infotainment system, and John O'Keefe's phone. However, this never showed up until this May 8th, report. However, it did come out during cross that Hank got a call from Mr. Burgess on the 7th that he had this report. It was incoming, and they discussed what was going to be in the report. Now, this is contrary to when Mr. Brennan went, "Oh my stars, we got a report and I had no idea. I didn't seen it coming." Sir, really? That being said, it was shown that he was asked if he had watched any testimony from this trial, if anything had encouraged him to change his timeline to better fit both Whitfin and Welshers and a lot of other people that have already, testified. Not to mention kind of clean up the fact that John O'Keefe allegedly turned off his phone after this whole, hitting him with a car event happened. That being said, it is clear and evident and testified to now that Brennan had future knowledge of this motion, whether it was 24 hours before or 10 minutes before. The fact that he put on this big old, "Oh my stars, how did this happen?" sort of thing really ticks me off. I think that this witness bombed terribly. His little tuft of devastation may be gone tomorrow. He might go home and shave all of his head. I don't know what the over under is on him changing his name, faking his own passing, and going to live a full life in Guam. That being said, he truly is the dick of the day for this trial. You lie about your expertise. You lie about so much. You don't know basic facts, and yet you hold yourself out to be an expert. You really have earned the angry, inappropriate child toy mushroom shaped, award of the day. So, congratulations, Mr. Shannon, with one N. Burgess. Also, it was discovered that Aperture has taken down his LinkedIn, in which he failed to really tell people that he has been working towards that bachelor's degree for not one, not two, not three, but 17 years. So make of that what you will. This is an entire ish show, if you ask me. But Mr. Burgess, Godspeed and God bless, because you are going to let Alessi go home and rest and recharge. And that is one person I don't want to meet, stone cold sober if I'm lying on the stand. Anywho, I will see you later. Talk at you later. Bye, y'all.